What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the finale to Let's Play Dark Souls. Gonna be finishing off the final of the 4 endgame areas. Right now I'm heading into Duke's Archives. I forgot I still had the metal boars to deal with. And we will grab the final Lord Soul, the bequeathed Lord Soul, in the possession of Seath the Scaleless. And then we will march through the endgame content. Just two-hand this, take a swing. Should not be any problem because my weapon's no longer glancing off the pig. Since I ran up to Duke's from the Anor Londo bonfire, it got me thinking of the missing Firekeeper that got brought up in the comments a long time ago. So the Firekeeper for Anor Londo becomes hostile when you kill Gwyn. So when I went back to the bonfire to restock my Estus in the episode right before I killed Ornstein and Smo, I was doing a run back that I forgot to show, and because she was hostile, I warped back to the bonfire, and she's waiting there for me, and she just attacked me. So I tried to run away from her and keep her alive so I could show her being killed maybe in bonus footage or something, but she just followed me to the elevator that leads down to the rotating bridge. And I figured she would just stop at the elevator, but no, as soon as the elevator reached bottom, she came tumbling down all those flights of steps, and she died from falling damage in a really anticlimactic way. Yeah, she decided to fall to her death trying to chase me down, which is why I had an extra upgrade level on my Estus Flask after that episode, in case you didn't notice. So when you kill a Firekeeper, the bonfire that they were supposed to tend to becomes inactive. You can no longer rest at it. The convenient thing, though, because the Anor Londo bonfire is such an important hub to warp to, you can still warp to a bonfire even if that bonfire's Firekeeper has been killed. So luckily I'm still able to warp to it to get here, otherwise, man, where would I think the closest warp point would have been the Undead Parish. I would have had to run from the Undead Parish after warping there, through Sen's Fortress, get lifted across to Anor Londo, and then run from the beginning of Anor Londo up to the Duke's Archives. Luckily, Bonfire is still available to be warped to. I wish there were a couple more warp points in the game. Like, I wish the one that we just passed right before the elevator leading up here, I wish that was actually a warp point to the Duke's Archives. I think the only warpable bonfire in the Duke's Archives is the shortcut one that comes very late in this level, almost at the end of the level. Oh, I think, no, you know what? There's one more, and it's the one that becomes available after killing Seath, which is one of the most worthless-ass bonfires in the game. It's up there with the bonfire, I think, to warp back to Nito. Oh, we don't need to kill that blue golem back there again, because I already dropped the broken half of the pendant, so no need to deal with that. By the way, there's a bit of side quest content that I was doing before the episode started out. Because this is the finale, and I think it's already going to be tight on time, like this might be an hour-long episode, hour-long finale, I'm going to save any of the remaining side quest stuff, like the Siegmeyer quest, anything that I haven't already shown, the Embers from the dried-up lava lake bed that was missing from last episode, or the episode that I was doing Bed of Chaos in. All that stuff is going to be bonus episode content. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about it. Oh, please don't warp away before I can kill you, son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Why do you always run away from me like this? Oh, he's in a really bad spot, too. Damn it. Because the archers, for some reason, do an inordinate amount of damage. Whoa, what did all that damage come from? Was that an archer? Was that an arrow in the back? Oh, well. Okay, drink up. Cool, dodged it. Should take one more hit. Two more hits. And no Channeler's Trident. That's That's like one of the items that I still have not gotten to drop that I really want. I want the Channeler's Trident. That, and I still want the Symbol of Avarice. The helmet you get, the rare drop helmet from the Mimics. I think I still have a couple Channelers left, and at least 1 or 2 Mimics left. So I still have a chance to get those two. Actually, I don't think there are any farmable Mimics, any ones that respawn. But there are a bunch of respawning Channelers once I get to the shortcut in Dukes, so... If I really want that Trident bad enough, which I kinda do, I could spend a lot of time farming those. None of the rare drops in this game, I have to mention, none of the rare drops in this game are nearly as bad to farm as, say, pure Bladestone was in Demon's Souls. For one, even the rarest of drops tends to be available from a wider set of enemies than pure Bladestone was. Pure Bladestone, if I recall, was available from like 2 enemies in the game, and they were both in the... Let's see, what was it? It was the 2nd level of the Shrine of Storms? And one of the 2 enemies was only available in pure Black World Tendency. All the rare drops in Dark Souls tend to be available from a larger set of enemies. Only the Symbol of Avarice, the helmet from the Mimics, that's the only one that you really might have to play through multiple times to get, just because Mimics don't respond. Speak of the devil, will you drop it for me? I never know if they're going to drop it automatically, because they always have something else. Is it? No, it's the stupid Crystal Knight Shield. I'm not going to worry too much about the Symbol of Avarice right now. So while I was back at Firelink right before I started the episode, before I warped to Anorlando, I had a really shitty reminder of something that I forgot about. But real quick, this elevator right here, this leads up to a section that, without spoiling anything, is the transition to a long stretch of the level. There's a really cool trick that you can do with that elevator where if you can ride it back down, roll onto the edge of the elevator, and then roll onto a balcony. It's called the Duke Skip. It skips this entire portion of the level coming up. And I want to make sure that I have a Ring of Sacrifice. Oh, Crystal Lizard. Hey, come back here, Mr. Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Yeah. So we're going to have an encounter up here at the end of this stairway. And I want to make sure that I have a certain something equipped for it. Oh, also, I believe this might be the only boss fog in the game that you can step back out of. Yeah, I'm not ready for this yet. But now we're going to go inside. I have a rare Ring of Sacrifice equipped. Really hope they put a time... let's do the time warp gesture in Dark Souls 2. I don't think it's going to happen, though. So this is an encounter that you cannot win. You cannot kill Seath right here, no matter how hard you try. You can survive for a little bit, but eventually he's going to have to kill you for you to progress with the rest of the level. And I call this a little bit bullshitty because if you don't have a Ring of Sacrifice or something like that equipped, then you respawn over here at this bonfire. I guess your corpse is dragged off to a prison area, and you resurrect right here. But if you don't have one of those rings equipped, a Ring of Sacrifice or a rare ring, you lose all of your souls and your humanity, and your bloodstain remains back in that first room where Seath kills you. And you can't get it back until you kill Seath later on in the level, at the very end of the level. So what you want to do is you want to kill that guard who's conveniently leaned up against the cell. He drops the key and you can free yourself. And the snake people are back here. They're playing some Kesha to get all the Pisakas. Nice and hyped up. I don't know who gets hyped for Kesha. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Oh, don't run away. Don't run away there. Come on now. I hate how these cards run away. Remember back in the Sense Fortress episode, I was talking about how the description for the Golden Covetous Ring mentions that these snake people are kind of like imperfect dragons? Well, here they are, guarding a part of Seath's archives. So, again, I'm thinking that Seath might have been trying to create his own race of dragons. These Pisakas, I think that's what they're called, are similar to their Demon Souls counterparts, except way, way, way less cool. I think the octopus-headed guards in Demon Souls are way cooler, way harder too, way more annoying. All these ones do are the grab attacks. I think they might also have a version of the Soul Arrow spell, but it's a really weak, kind of puny version. What is the point of this cell? I don't think this cell is a point. A couple of these cells are locked. We're going to be getting a key from one of them that will allow us to unlock the others. A lot of keys in this section. Getting bad flashbacks about the octopus-headed guards and Demon Souls. I'm a little relieved, actually, that these ones aren't that bad, because they throw like 10 at you at the bottom of the stairwell. And if these were the Demon Souls versions, this would be a nightmare of a level. Just thinking about the Black Phantom ones leading up to Old Monk. God, those things were harder than Flame Lurker. Also, the octopus guards here in the Duke's Archives are really good to farm for humanity. I don't know if they have quite the same drop rate. I don't know if it's quite as high as the giant rats or the baby skeletons, but they do tend to drop a lot of humanity, and almost all of them, except for 2 at the very bottom here, respawn. And you have a bonfire right at the top of the staircase. So, if you need to farm a little bit of humanity, maybe you're just shy of having enough to hit rank 2 in the Chaos Covenant, something like that, it's a good spot to come down to. So I'm going to try to clear these out as systematically as possible to not get grabbed. Probably one of the nicest things about these versions of the octopus-headed guards... Oh, did get grabbed. They don't have that spell where they hit their little cowbell and stun you and paralyze you. I think that was the single most difficult attribute of the Demon Souls versions of them to actually go ahead and deal with. Oh, where am I going? So I think there's a ladder right around here, and on the right is a cell which we will not get a key for until later in the level, and I want to make sure I'm exploring around this area because I want to say there's a hidden chest back here. Could be wrong about that. Either way, this level looks too cool to not just get an eye full of. Okay, so there isn't actually anything back here. So now, I'm gonna head back to this gate, because even though we can't get what's behind the gate, which is a Firekeeper soul... Oh, and Big Hat Logan is also trapped back there, since we rescued him in Sense Fortress and talked to him in Firelink Shrine. These two have much more health than the others, and they also are not hostile until they're attacked. They also drop these 2 miracles, which are miracles of the servants of Princess Guinevere, or at least her illusion. But anyway, you also get those for joining the Princess Guard Covenant, which, hey, good time to talk about that, since I keep forgetting to do so. So aside from the miracles, the cool thing about the Princess Guard Covenant is that you get a ring that gives you more miracle synergy. And miracle synergy is a really obscure system that boosts a small selection of miracles like Heal and Wrath of God, and there's 6 or 7 others. I'll post a list up in the description. There are 2 ways in the game to get the miracle synergy boost. With the ring from the Covenant, or by being near a miracle resonance sign. If you've ever been walking around and seen a glowing ring of light on the ground, that's what that is. if you cast certain miracles near those signs, your miracles will be stronger. And resonance signs spawn in other players' worlds if you're playing online, and they spawn randomly when you use miracles. So that's how they show up in your world too. Other people in the area have been using miracles. And since we got that extra key, we can come out here, we can make a drop down. The items that you get for making the drops downs here aren't terribly important. I think they're just stuff like souls and maybe certain colored titanite slabs, something like that. Ooh, I got really turned around and forgot which direction to go. I'm looking for the ladder that I was talking about before, because I need to get up there, because that's where Kesh's gramophone is. It's also where the key that I need is to progress to the next level. Syntax is hard. Damn. Oh, since I was talking about the Princess Guard Covenant a few minutes ago, there was another covenant, the last covenant that I have not yet talked about that I also kept forgetting to talk about since I, did I join? Yeah, I think I joined them for like 5 minutes back when I visited Ash Lake. That covenant is the Path of the Dragon. And joining that covenant, it's actually one of the cooler ones of the game. Joining gives you a special item that lets you invade people and take dragon scales from them. And dragon scales are used to upgrade dragon weapons like the Drake Sword. You also need to give dragon scales to the Everlasting Dragon to rank up in that covenant. So joining also gives you an item called the Dragon Head Stone. When you use it, your head transforms into a dragon head, and then using this stone again makes you breathe fire. And then rank 2 in the Covenant, which costs 30 scales to get up to, gives you access to an item called a Dragon Torso Stone, which turns your body into a dragon's body. And using it again while you're transformed causes you to let out a roar, which does, for starters, it does AoE damage to everything around you, and it also gives you a damage buff. Oh, and also when you transform, all of your armor and your stuff unequips, but you do a lot of damage with your barehanded attacks, like, and I think all the damage, like the damage from the dragon breath, I believe that scales with your rank in the Covenant, and it also scales with your soul level. So it's actually a very viable playstyle to play as a dragonoid, some kind of dragon cousin, I don't know. And it also looks pretty cool. Like, the head looks a little bit like the Everlasting Dragon's head. It's all things considered, it's a pretty unique covenant. But since we got that key near the gramophone, we can now unlock this door at the top of the ladder. There's also a few drop-offs you can make from the plank bridges you can see on the left. Again, not going to be making too many of those because I want to kind of get through here as quickly as possible, while making sure I still get all of the important stuff. I'm not going to go too far out of my way to get, you know, minor items like slabs, or not slabs, but that would be pretty important. Little chunks of titanite or, you know, a couple of souls. I'm already well furnished with souls, so it's not going to be a problem. Might show some of that more minor stuff off in the bonus episode, but it's almost not even worth showing. I don't think I've really missed anything that important yet. Okay, here is the part of the Duke's Archives that I was saying in the comments always managed to get me confused when I played through this in the past. And someone, I want to say it was either Nate or Centrosi, and I really get upset when I can't remember who to attribute things to. One of them pointed out that the reason I always used to get fucked up here, spatially, like my spatial reasoning just it gets decimated here, is because this is an extension of the area of the area of Dukes that you start out in. This is an adjacent series of corridors out here. And you can actually cross over into the beginning area. And the reason I always got messed up, because I would finish that first area off, I would go through the prison section we just got finished with no deaths. I would do all that, and I would make it here, and I would explore the area looking for treasure and shit, and I would see all these dead bodies and think like, wait a minute, how did they get here? I haven't been here yet, right? But I had been here. It's just the two halves of this part of the level are cut off from one another by bookcases that get opened up once you enter into the prison area. The bookcases move out of the way once Seath kills you in that first encounter. So here is actually the very beginning. Here is the beginning of the level right here. If I turn right down there is where the elevator was that led up to that long passageway that led to Seath and the fog gate. So that is where I would always get screwed up. Yeah. Regardless, though, we still have access to a few new things because there's now a new floor available to us from down in this other section. We can actually go upstairs now and cross into the upper balcony, the upper floor of the starting area. And I believe there are a bunch of new treasure chests that are made available. Also because we now have access to the two sets of rotating stairways. One of which is on the right up here, and the other one, which is in the hallway we just came from. Gotta make a fall to get to that one. This all, like... I have a problem describing things spatially, like layouts of areas. It might be better off to just ignore what I'm saying is rambling garbage. And just watch, because I think me actually going through here, it will paint a better picture of how to traverse this part of the level better than me rambling on about my issues with spatial reasoning. So we're going to turn that first staircase and look around for some treasure chests, and then after we've exhausted all these options, I knew there was one over here. No, Mimic. After we've exhausted all the treasure chests around here, we can actually go through the last section, which is the Crystal Forest section. Let's see. Nothing on that side, so I'm going to go up the other side of the bridge, look around, and then maybe flip it again? I'm trying to remember the exact order I have to do things. No, I'm going to flip it one more time again. One more time again? One mo again. We're going to keep looking around up here. So, while I'm going through all of this, there are a bunch of things that I did not mention while I was going through the Demon Ruins and Ash Lake. One of them was the Dragon Covenant, the Path of the Dragon, that I finally got around to talking about a few minutes ago. But there's actually a lot more to those areas that I didn't get a chance to go into. So for starters, you know that really haunting music that plays when you're in Ash Lake? Have you noticed that there are only 2 areas in the game that have their own musical themes? Outside of boss encounters, that is. And that's because the game is so focused on subtle details and atmosphere and audio cues that the levels themselves don't have music, usually, because it would be distracting. And that's so true because there are so many times when you play and you're creeping around, you're paranoid, and you're trying to figure out what's about to attack you, and you'll hear something really subtle, like a mob making some loud breathing noise from right behind a corner. And that is usually your only warning that you're about to be ambushed. But with Firelink or Ash Lake, the music serves more to enhance the level because there aren't those kinds of ambushes going on. Same with the bosses. Now, as for the Demon Ruins, I was talking a bit about the arch trees, and something that I hadn't actually pointed out was that the Asylum Demon's Hammer is made from an arch tree. And also, all the pine resins, like the golden pine resin, those also come from arch trees. Which makes sense because all of them are based upon the ways in which the trees were destroyed by the four lords, or rather just Gwyn, the Witch of Izalith, and Nito, since the pygmy didn't actually do a whole lot of destroying. Rotten pine resin comes from the arch trees, which succumb to Nito's virulent miasma. Golden pine resin, which gives you the lightning enhancement, comes from Gwyn destroying arch trees with his lightning. Oh, are you really gonna do this shit again? Come on, Channeler. And charcoal pine resin, which is fire buff. Ow. It's being so cheap. Comes from the arch trees that the Witch of Izalith destroyed with her firestorms. Also, since I mentioned the Asylum Demon, the palette swap for the Asylum Demon... No trident. No. The palette swap for the Asylum Demon, the Demon Fire Sage, which is the one we actually fight in Demon Ruins that I was thinking about, was the very first demon, according to the lore. He was the first demon to emerge from the bed of chaos. And apparently he was the last master of fire before the Witch of Izalith tried to copy the first flame. And that's why the weapon that he wields is actually a giant demonic catalyst. It's not what you would think it is. It's not like some kind of combat staff. It is, in fact, a catalyst. In fact, I think it dropped, didn't it? I think he drops that. Can't remember. That is the second time I have done something in this level really goofy and gotten turned around in just a dumb way. I forgot to activate this shortcut when I was staring right at the lever before, so I went back up the ladder and walked around for like 5 minutes thinking I missed something. So you pull that lever and this opens back up into an earlier section where we can... Actually, no, this isn't quite an earlier section, I don't think. Unless there was a bookcase in the way. Yeah, it totally is. Okay. The bookcase was in the way of the bonfire. So you pull that lever, a bunch of bookcases rearrange, and you get to the shortcut bonfire. Okay, that's not the room I want to go in yet, because there's a chest right over... Yeah, right over here. What is in this chest? Oh, that's just a blue Titanite chunk. That is one of the more boring chests. There's like 3 or 4 more chests in this room, though. So there's one... Not a mimic. I know one of these is a mimic. And I know what I should be looking out for. Oh, that's the Channeler set. This one is where you find the... Oh, wait, where is it? Come on. Oh, it's behind me. Okay, this isn't the mimic. I know there's that trick to finding the mimics. I still, out of caution, will just hit every chest I see after Sen's Fortress. That's the mimic, though. And this is the one that drops the key that we need to get to the prison area where Logan was. Oh, yes! Praise Jesus. Awesome. Awesome stuff. Let's take a look at that real quick. Oh, it's so cool. It's so monstrous looking. Let's do a little sun praise in here. God, that thing's cool, but it's so heavy. It's like 10 pounds. It's a 10-pound mimic hat. I haven't... let's put that, the Artorias helm back on. Yeah, I'm so happy I got that, man. I think that's one of the more rare drops in the game. Also, I almost missed this one. This is where the archive giant key is. And that's the one that will open the prison cell at the very bottom of the prison area, where the Firekeeper's soul is housed and where Logan is in prison. So, gonna be coming back for him in the bonus episode. Now, let's see, there's a couple things I can talk about real quick. I guess the Embers, since I haven't mentioned this little detail, that's kind of important actually. So, the large flame ember allows you to upgrade fire weapons from +5 to +10, and you get to ascend weapons to fire up to +5 by default at, I think his name is Vamos. He's the skeleton blacksmith in the catacombs I forgot to show, but I will remember to do that at some point, I promise. I did show like the how to get to him, I just didn't actually go through the process of making that fall to get down to him. Speaking of default ascensions, Rickard of Vinheim, the smith at the start of New Londo, ascends and upgrades to +5 magic by default. You don't have to give an Ember to do that either, just like with Vamos and the Fire Ascensions. And this is Siglin, so I'll get back to that in a moment.
It was you who rescued me. Why, thank you. I am Sieglind of Katarina. I don't know how I ended up in that crystal. It wasn't terrible in there, but I could hardly move. I must think of some way to repay you. Oh, have you seen my father? You wouldn't miss him. A suit of armor just like mine. Thank goodness. I knew he was here somewhere. Well then, now I must find him. Thanks again, truly. Now I shall just stay put and keep out of trouble. Thank goodness.
Okay, Sieglind has her own mini quest that ties into Sigmayr's that I will show off later on after I've actually completed Sigmayr's in the bonus episode. More bonus content. Even more bonus content after that. There is one more Ember left in the game. There's two more, actually. Both of which I'll show how to get in the bonus episode. They're too far off the beaten path as of right now to go out of my way to get. The Crystal Ember that we just got allows for ascension to Crystal. And the Big Magic Ember, the remaining Embers that we're going to get, one is in Darker Garden, and the other one is actually in the room that Seath kills us in. Those, I think, are both for magic upgrades. Can't quite remember right now. This is a pretty cool area that really throws people for a loop the first time they come here. The way you're supposed to tell where the invisible paths are, you see there are these little tiny snowflakes that are falling, and when you see them shatter on a strut of invisible walkway, that's supposed to be your indicator that there's a solid path ahead. Also, you can see people laying down messages if you're playing online that'll kind of guide you. And you can also drop prism stones down and... Oh, no, shit! Oh, whoops. I forgot he's a little harder to run past. 1 second. Yeah, I forgot the golden golem here is a little bit harder to run past than the smaller blue ones because he's bigger. So, slight strategical adjustment there. We'll get past him, no problem. Oh, he's still gonna... Yeah, he's gonna follow me actually all the way across this invisible path. So I'm gonna take it slowly, watch where the snowflakes land. It's mostly a straight shot once you drop down here. You're looking for a little plank of crystal. There it is. Okay, so now the boss bog is about 30 seconds away. But we are not done with annoying ass... Oh, yeah! Like I was saying, he will follow you. We're not done with annoying enemies, though. Perhaps some of the most annoying enemies in the game are right over here. They are the infamous oysters. You can see there's no boss fog, but there is a threshold that we're going to pass that's going to trigger a cutscene. And if we die and have to run back here, that's when the boss fog will appear. I think it's really silly looking the way Seath just flies in. So before we do anything, we have to go to the back of the room and destroy the primordial crystal, which is the crystal that allows Seath to mimic the immortality of the dragons. And this is why I call the oysters annoying, at least the first time you come here, because there's no boss fog. The first time you come to this area, but the first time you fight Seath here, the oysters can actually follow you into the boss room and get sealed inside with you. So they become an extra little hassle. And did he? Oh, there he is. I thought Seath actually killed him. So Seath has a lot of breath attacks that produce crystals on the ground that will very rapidly curse you. And something I never mentioned about curse, a long time ago, before the game underwent a couple patches, the curse effect used to stack. So the first time you got cursed, you would die and respawn at half with your health locked to 50%. If you got cursed again after that, it would get locked to 25% and it would just keep going like that. I think it had a limit. I'm trying to get around to his fucking tail here, because Seath is another enemy in the game who has a tail that we can cut off for a weapon. And this weapon is a particularly interesting one historically for From Software, because this is the point in the game where you get their long-running Moonlight Greatsword. Oh my god, would you stop spinning, you frustrating asshole? Seath, I know I didn't get Calameets or Priscilla's. Calameets was just because I didn't want to take the time, and same with Priscilla. Seath has the most annoying tail to cut off, because one, he spins around constantly, just makes it a pain in the ass to get to. He has a bunch of really nasty tail attacks. Like, Seath himself is not that aggressive, except when you're behind him and he can start hitting you with his tails. The tail, by the way, that you're gunning for to get his sword is that middle one. The other thing that makes it a little bit annoying to get is you have to cut the very tip of the tail off. If you're, like, right up his butt and you're trying to attack the base of the tail, you're just going to wind up doing a ton of damage to Seath. You have to attack the tip of the tail to cut it off. And it's just annoying to do, but somehow this fight is going well. This fight is going way too well. I mean, he's not a hard boss, but usually when I get an oyster following me in, a clam following me into the boss room, and I go after the tail, I don't know, he at least seems to put up some resistance, but not this time. Hey, I welcome it. I welcome not getting cursed and assaulted and molested by clams and crystals. But now, gonna record some footage for the bonus content and cut ahead to Firelink, where we will begin the end game. And this is, by the way, if you ever have an issue with Framp being asleep, this is how you wake him up. He's not gonna turn hostile or anything. He's not gonna die. Now that we have all of the Lord's souls, we can offer them to the Lord Vessel, and that will open up the pathway to the Kiln of the First Flame. And when you rest at the Firelink altar, after it's been kindled with all of the Lord souls, you always wind up getting 20 flasks. Now, to make our descent down to the Kiln of the First Flame, you can see all of these spirits, these phantoms of the Black Knights who accompanied Lord Gwyn down into the Kiln when he linked the fire and burnt most of them to ashes, charred others who we're going to be fighting in a moment. Look at that view. This is visually one of my favorite levels. And the entire ground has been reduced to nothing but cinder. I really love that effect. And the only enemies we have to fight, that we have left, are all of these Black Knights. So all of these Black Knights that we're fighting at the Kiln of the First Flame are the various ones that we've encountered throughout the game. We have the greatsword wielding ones, which is this one up here. We have the regular sword wielding ones. We have an axe wielding one that wields a halberd. All of these knights respawn. All of them offer a significantly higher drop rate for the Black Knight weapons, and also the Black Knight shield. This is also the area in the game where you get the Black Knight armor, so you can get all of the Black Knight equipment with a very small amount of farming at the Kiln of the First Flame, if you haven't already gotten the other items to drop throughout the game. I was lucky enough to get the Black Knight sword from the very first Black Knight in the game, but I didn't get any of the other weapons yet. Over here, I'm gonna grab the Black Knight armor real quick. And... oh, I should not be fighting him here. Yeah. That's what I get for missing my parry. Be right back. You know, it has been a constant parade of death since somewhere around Sen's Fortress. Which is kind of a testament to how much harder this is than Demon Souls. Or maybe it's just a testament to how much worse I've gotten. Now we have 2 Black Knights left before we hit the fog gate to the final boss. And we have a great axe wielding one. I would really like him to do his leaping attack so I can parry that, because it's one of the coolest parry opportunities. But I don't think he's going to be that kind to me, and I don't feel like wasting any more time. His punishment, he gets stabbed in the butt. Right in the butt cheeks. Come on, put up a better fight than that. Also, I think all of the knights here are guaranteed to drop some kind of Titanite chunk. It might also depend on the type of knight it is, whether it's a Great Axe Black Knight or a Halberd one or what have you. There we go. So, Gwyn, who is coming up in just a second, I'll get started talking about him because I think it might be a short fight. Gwyn, if it's your first time, can be a little bit rough, because where other bosses can put some hurt on you, they almost always go, no, you go ahead, take some time out, drink some Gatorade, rest up. Gwyn doesn't really do that. He's pretty relentless. And dodge that like a champ. He's pretty relentless, like I was saying. But you can use that against him because it makes him predictable. And he is parryable. I think the only boss in the game, ironic for being the final boss, which you can parry. And because he's so aggressive, his attack pattern is pretty predictable. So what I like to do, you can actually, before I go on with that, you can actually parry his leaping attack too at the very start, which is hard to do. He hits very quickly, but predictably in these 3 or 4 hit combos. So instead of trying to react instantly to the first hit, what I like to do is I like to block the very first attack in a combo, and then parry early in anticipation for the second in the combo. That way, your reflexes can't really fail you. It's just a little bit safer. But Gwyn is gonna go down like quite the chump. Just 1 or 2 more. Yeah, 2 more. 1 more now, actually. And Gwyn is another example of Demon Souls or Dark Souls, a Souls game, final boss, which is not really climactic. You can even hear it in this really nice soft piano music that's playing in the background, and I don't think it's supposed to be all that climactic. So at the start of the Let's Play, I asked you guys to vote on which ending you want to see. Well, Dark Souls is very speedrunnable, and I had other characters close to the end anyway, so I'm going to show both endings. I'll show the Linking the Flame ending here and the Dark Lord ending in the bonus episode, but we need to be dressed for the occasion. So, one sec while I slip into my formal attire. My favorite armor set in the game, I like it even more than the Ornstein set, more than the Artorias set. It's the Black Knight set, which we just got, and so now fully decked out in Black Knight gear, we can go ahead and link the flames. Just like Gwyn, we burned our soul to link the fire and extend the first flame's life cycle, continuing the Age of Fire much longer than it naturally should last. And that's exactly how Gwyn went from being a mighty king amongst gods who ruled over Lordran as the god of sunlight, to a shell of his former self clinging desperately to his past glory as the Lord of Cinders instead. The Souls games are about falling from grace, Pyrrhic victories. They're about making enormous sacrifices in the pursuit of power and the dangers of ambition. We saw in Demon Souls how Alant's mad quest for power left him raving and disfigured because he thought he could control the Old One. And we see how Gwyn's desire left everything around him withered and dead. Both games are about the cost of power. One is about attaining it, one is about greedily holding on to it. Gwyn and Alant are where the theory that the Souls games have no story, if everything you've seen in these two playthroughs hasn't convinced you otherwise already, and you just dismiss it as lore that the fans have made up and read far too much into, where that theory falls apart, to me, is right at the end bosses. Because if it really is just about the gameplay, then you really have to think, did From just kind of shit the bed at the last minute? Did they run out of ideas? Because both bosses in Demon Souls and Dark Souls, both end bosses, should be big, climactic, badass boss fights. But they're not. They're both kind of pathetic. That's what makes it so interesting. They're pathetic for a reason. They're pathetic because From is favoring narrative and theme over giving you climactic end bosses to bookend the game. It tells you kind of what the priorities were. Storytelling definitely factors into those priorities in a big way. Gwyn is a coward. He's afraid of losing what he worked so hard to attain, and he doesn't want to see his time fade away. It's a little bit about death and delaying the inevitable, and he's become this sad old husk of a man, of a god. And that is it for one of the best games produced this generation and one of the best RPGs ever made. So now, for not going crazy and not dedicating myself to 100%ing the game like I did with Demon Souls, I got a fair amount done. Most of the NPC side quests I did, except for the little Anastasia quest and the thing with Rhea I missed out on. Missed a little bit of Kirk's mini quest, I guess you could call it, because I missed his invasion in the depths. But yeah, I got a lot done. Plus, there's still the bonus episode to come, so I will be shoring up most of those loose ends. The important ones, anyway. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. If you did, be sure to share it, post it around the interwebs if you like. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. I always like interacting with you guys in the comments. And of course, check out my channel for all the other awesome playlists because I post new videos every single day. that are every bit as in-depth as this playthrough, or at least comedic, like the ones I do with my friend Mike. There is one more Dark Souls video left, and that is the bonus episode, which will go up probably in a few days. In the meantime, I am going to wind down and relax a bit in a quiet little resort town named Silent Hill. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, take it easy. Have a good one.